So we'll return to order. It looks like we need a couple of seats filled. Okay. And then. All right, appears we have enough. Let's resume. Before we do that, I've asked the majority floor leader to get up and explain what we're doing. We've also given you a handout. As we try to make this all come together in the amount of time we have, we're going to proceed with some introduction of bills, as you can see in that script that you've been given. Plus, we'll give you an opportunity to have your bills heard on the floor. And this is our effort to make sure that we can get as much work done in a short amount of time, still make it quality work, and still have you be a voice for your districts out across the state. With that, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, could you proceed and give us an explanation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just a little recap of where we're at. What we've done at this point in time is we have killed the special rules for the special session. So the Wyoming legislature is now under the joint rules of the 66th that we enacted in the past. So we're right back to a normal session. So for all of you now, we're not under any other rules other than the one we enacted, which would be the appropriations rule. Other than that, we are under normal Senate rules for how we operate going forward. You're going to hear me in just a little bit at the tail end, which won't be very long from now, to ask for a motion to adjourn. And you vote your conscience on it. The reason we're doing this is when we did the call for a special session, part of that was two things. One was that we were staying with a single topic, and you'll see us stay with that. As majority floor leader, any bills, whether they make it off the floor today or not, that don't fit the topic of this session, I give you my word that they're not coming up on the board. You can get them up on the floor and debate them if you want, but I'm not going to put them on the board regardless of where they go. The second part is if special rules failed, that we would ask for a motion to adjourn. And that's what you're going to hear me do is after messages from the House, you will hear me stand up and a motion to adjourn. The long and short of it is this. Should we vote to adjourn? We're done, depending on what the House does. It's dependent on the House whether they adjourn as well. So we'll be in a bit of a limbo either way. But we're done. We're not taking up any bills. We're not doing any more business. Should we not adjourn? We are now back into a normal session, which we know is going to be somewhat longer than what we have. We'll know a little more today after the bills get introduced where we're at, but it's probably going to add, could be as many as 6 or 8 days total to the session to make it happen. So that's kind of where we're at right now. There'll be 3 bills that come up that are leadership pick bills that are on a consent list, and those will be the bills that we start with. So with that, I'd stand for any questions the body has or further explanation.
Mr. President, for clarification, my understanding is the motion to adjourn only requires a majority of the members present within the body to adjourn if there is an affirmative vote. It does not take 2/3 majority to get to the threshold to adjourn. Just wanted to make sure that everybody's clear on that, Mr. President.
Correct, Mr. Vice President. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, is the motion to adjourn today?
Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, it is not debatable. When the motion is made, we will go straight from the motion to a roll call vote. That's why I'm noticing you, I'm doing it, so everyone can think about it, because it is non-debatable. It is just a motion to adjourn, and the clerk will call roll call.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Senator Driscoll, call for the motion.
I think we need to do messages from the House just in case we
Please,
adjourn.
yeah, thank you. Sorry about
Thank you.
that. Chief Clerk, didn't mean to override.
Messages from the House. Message number one, Mr. President, October 26, 2021, the House of Representatives of the 66th Wyoming State Legislature special session has been called to order by Speaker Eric Barlow and is ready to receive any communications you may desire to submit. Sincerely, Wendy Harding, House Chief Clerk. Message number two, Mr. President, this is to inform you that the following named person has been duly appointed and sworn in as a new member of the House of Representatives of the 66th Legislature of the state of Wyoming, Representative J.D. Williams from District Number 2. Message number three, Mr. President, this is to inform you that Representative J.D. Williams has been appointed to Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs. The following changes to the House Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions Committee will be in effect for the remainder of the 2021 interim. Representative Mike Yin will replace Representative Andy Clifford, and Representative Mike Greer will fulfill the vacancy of former Representative Hans Hunt. Message number four, Mr. President, this is to inform you that the House has voted and failed to amend the joint rules of the 66th Wyoming State Legislature. Message number five, Mr. President, this is to inform you that the House has voted to amend the House rules of the 66th Wyoming State Legislature by adopting the following amendments. House Rule number 1 adopted. House Rule number Amendment 3 adopted. Sincerely, Wendy Harding, House Chief Clerk.
Thank you. Senator Driscoll.
Mr. President, I would move to adjourn Wyoming Senate.
You've heard the motion. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
On the motion to adjourn, roll call, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin? No. No. Beitman? No. Boner? No. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper?
No.
No. Driscoll? No. Ellis? No. No. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks?
No.
No. Hutchings? No. James?
No.
No. Kinsky?
No.
No. Cole?
No.
No. Cost?
No.
No. Landon? No. McEwen?
No.
No. Nethercott? No. Pappas excused. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar?
No.
No. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? No. President Dockstetter?
No.
No. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. 6 aye, 23 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, the motion. By your vote, the motion to adjourn has failed the Senate. Senator Kinsky. Yes. Oh, Senator Beitman.
Caught me napping, Mr. President. Daydreaming, one of the two. Having voted on the prevailing side of, let's see, Senate Rule number 2, I move for immediate reconsideration of the third reading vote on Senate Rule number 2.
Heard the motion? Go ahead. Senator Rothfuss, discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. Just restate the motion. It wasn't a third reading. It's in order certainly, but I believe you used the third reading language where it wasn't third reading on it. So just moving for immediate reconsideration on the vote on Senate Rule 2. Thank you.
Senator Beitman.
Let me restate the motion, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side of Senate Rule 2, I move for immediate reconsideration of the vote on Senate Rule 2.
Senator Kinsky.
Point of order, I'd ask the bringer if he has a recommendation for an aye or a nay vote.
Senator Beitman.
Good question to my learned colleague. I would vote aye on the reconsideration and an aye on the rule. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Majority Floor
Point of
Leader.
order, just for explanation of the body, non-debatable. We're voting only on whether we reconsider. You're not voting on how you vote. This is just whether we reconsider or not. This will be followed if it passes by a vote on the resolution again.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Yeah, I'm getting to you. I was wondering where Senator Case was on this one, so no.
I'm
Go
always
ahead.
in the corner.
I
Mr.
know.
President.
I knew this would be one of your favorite topics, so go ahead.
So I think it'd be good if the president were to explain to the people listening in what the content of the rule is that we're voting to reconsider. I don't think it's out of order. I'm not trying to debate it. If we just explained it rather than refer
Please.
to it by number.
Okay, and let's also have Senator Scott speak as well. Go ahead, Senator Scott.
Mr. President, just a parliamentary inquiry. Am I right in thinking that the motion to reconsider merely takes a simple majority, but to pass the rule then takes the 2/3 and would have original?
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, little further discussion on this. Senate Rule 2. Members of the Senate who attend a special session of the legislature remotely and with the prior approval of the President of the Senate will be considered present in person and within the bar of the Senate. Shall be permitted to vote, they'll be permitted to vote and shall be counted for purposes of determining whether a quorum is present. All actions heretofore undertaken and performed by the Senate for members to attend a special session remotely or as in this case, this special session be considered present and are hereby ratified and approved. The presiding officers and chairman, while in the committee of the whole or standing committee meetings, may determine the appropriate means of voting for remote participants, including but not limited to the showing of hands or roll call. During a special session or otherwise permitted by these rules, they'll be required to print, distribute, and deliver or sign under any Senate or joint rule that may be satisfied by the electronic means. In short, after all that, it allows members of the body to join the Senate remotely, digital means. That's a nutshell. I read you the legal version. Okay, Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I do renew my inquiry as to what majority is required on this vote to reconsider.
That's right, I wrote that down. Need a majority of the quorum. Thank you. Okay, to reintroduce this, a majority, and then we're going to 2/3 after that. We clear? Been a very unique day. Let's proceed with the vote. Roll call. Chief Clerk, call the roll. This is for reconsideration.
For reconsideration, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? No. French? Aye. Furphy? No. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? No. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas excused. Perkins? Aye. Rothus? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott?
No.
No. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader? Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. For reconsideration, 23 aye, 6 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, the motion to reconsider has passed the Senate. Now we'll proceed to a vote on Senate Rule 2. Is there discussion before we do that? Now we'll proceed. We'll proceed with the vote. Question being called, the chief clerk will call the roll.
Roll call on the amendment. Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Whitman.
Aye.
Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. No. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole.
Aye.
Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas excused. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. No. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstetter. Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. 27 aye, 2 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, Senate Rule 2 has passed the Senate. All right, members of the Senate. Senate is now back in session. We considered the special joint rules of the House and Senate for the conduct of this session. Those special joint rules failed to receive the 2/3 vote of the elected members of the Senate to be adopted. As such, we will now conduct business under the rules of the Senate and the joint rules of the Senate and House of Representatives of the 66th Legislature. Under Senate Rule 3.5 and Rule 4.6, we are now at that order of business of assignment of bills to committee. Senate File 3. Assigned to Committee 2, Appropriations. Oh, please do.
Senate File 1003, COVID-19 Discriminatory Practices Prohibition, sponsored by Senator Steinmetz.
Senate File 3 is assigned to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 9, get it in.
Senate File 1009, COVID-19 Response 2, sponsored by Senator Kinsky.
Senate File 1009, assigned to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 1004.
Senate File 1004, COVID-19 Vaccinations Employer Prohibition 2, sponsored by Senator Whitman.
Senate File 4 is assigned to Committee Number 10, Labor Health. Folks, as I mentioned a moment ago, and as we've met through this process, we're working to find a way to hear as much of your work as possible in this amount of time. And we do appreciate all the work that you've done in preparation for this session. Keeping in mind there is this session, we can work with things, and we continue not that long, not far from now, when we'll come back and find ourselves back here in February again. And then in the meantime, the committee work continues. But you have this handout here. So the Senate will now entertain any motions to take from my desk any filed bill currently in possession of the Senate. And we'll open it up to motions now. Mr. Floor Leader,
Mr. President, privilege the floor.
please do.
Quick explanation. Folks, we have time to take up at most 3 bills. I'm not going to tell you to kill or not kill bills. The 3 bills that are there are set up to be easily amendable to take in a lot of the ideas that are out there. But everybody needs to be prepared that regardless of how many bills we do, we actually only have physical time to take up at most 3 bills. So just a forewarning before we start rolling through all these bills, that even though we may bring a pile of them out, we don't have time to do them all, and there'll be some decisions made going forward depending on what the committees do. If you think your bill will fit in one of those 3 bills, I'd ask you to take a hard look at putting them into one of the 3 bills as an amendment rather than taking up a bunch of floor debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Beitman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senate File 1010, having been numbered, signed by the sponsor, and submitted to the chief clerk, but having not been taken from the desk and placed on the order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills as provided in Senate Rule 4-6, I move pursuant to Senate Rule 8-6 that Senate File 1010, the Grace Smith Medical Freedom Act 2, be taken from the desk and placed on that order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. It's my understanding then we just call for the vote. This is on Senate File 1010. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Senate File 1010. Anderson? No. Baldwin? No. Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? No. Driscoll? No. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? No. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? No. Landon? No. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Pappas excuse Perkins? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? No. President Dockstader? No. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. 11 aye, 18 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, Senate File 1010 has failed introduction to the Senate. Senator Scott, and then to Senator Case.
Mr. President, I rise to explain my vote on the last bill. Mr. President, basically, I've not expected this bill to come up. I had not obtained a copy of it. I had no idea from the explanation as to what was really in it. So resorted to the old legislative maxim, if you don't understand it, can't understand it, vote no.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Case.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have another motion.
Oh, please. Oh, motion.
Yes, sir.
Please proceed, sir.
Mr. President, I would move that Senate File 1011, Medical Treatment Opportunity Act, be put on the list of bills to be assigned to committee for consideration. Mr. President, this would benefit 25,000 people in Wyoming, mostly females that are working in this state, and they are people that serve you breakfast, clean your hotel rooms. They have children, and this would be a great thing for them. And I hope that you will support it. It is Medicaid expansion, just to be clear, and it is actually a committee bill approved by the Revenue Committee for introduction in a special or the budget session. So of all the bills that you've looked at today, Mr. President, this is a bill that's actually gone through committee, received a due pass recommendation, and I ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Senator. You've heard the introduction. This is on Senate File 1011. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Anderson, no. Baldwin? Aye. Whitman? No. Boner? No. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? No. Driscoll? No. Ellis? No. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. James? No. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? Aye. Landon? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Pappas excused. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader? No. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. 8 aye, 21 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, Senate File 1011 has failed introduction into the Senate. Senator Bouchard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two bills, so I'll start with one. Very important bill. It takes a little bit different action than what some of the other.
Mr. President, we need to know which bill.
Senator Bouchard, for the record and for those listening, would you state the bill and its title?
Yes, Mr. President, it is Senate File 1007. Mr. President, would you like that I just read the motion now?
Please proceed. Now that we know and we're clear, please proceed, Senator.
Mr. President.
We
Microphone.
lost you.
There we go. Mr. President, this bill is different than the other bills. Instead of ordering a business not to do something, what we're really doing here in this bill is what we're asking that they do not reference or ask about someone's vaccination status. And so this kind of twists it around a little bit different and possibly not get into a lawsuit with businesses that take a different position. What we're talking about is privacy of that person, their healthcare privacy. And it also has discrimination in the bill where they can't be discriminated against. Would it please the body for me to go through the bill?
Keep it brief, but make sure we understand it. Go ahead.
So very simply, it's a strong message from the heart of our economy, where a public contractor, anybody who does a contract that uses public property, receives public funds, they are going to be able to, they're not going to be able to ask if what your vaccination status is. So that's the main issue there. And this goes all the way down into employers. Basically, it's your business. Article 1, Section 38 of the Wyoming Constitution says you have a right to make your own healthcare decisions. So it goes in further. It says no person shall refuse or withhold or deny to any person any services, goods, facilities, advantages, or privileges. Goes on to say licensing, employment opportunities, healthcare based on a person's vaccination status. Goes on to say no person shall ask a person or inquire into a person's vaccination status. That's really the heart of the bill. It goes on to violations. It would be a felony in the state of Wyoming if they ask, $5,000. And it also has the ability for civil action as well. There's conforming language on the last page of the bill to bring everything else that we've done in law to make sure that this all fits everywhere. So, Mr. President, I would motion that Senate File 1007
having been numbered, signed by the sponsor and submitted to the chief clerk, but having not been taken from the desk and placed on the order of business of introduction, reading and reference of bills as provided in Senate Rule 4.6. I move pursuant to Senate Rule 8.6 that Senate File 1007 be taken from the desk and placed on the order of business of introduction, reading and reference of bills.
Thank you. You've heard the explanation, the introduction. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Anderson? No. Baldwin? No. Whitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard?
Aye.
Aye. Case? No. Cooper? No. Driscoll? No. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Murphy? No. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? No. Landon? No. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Pappas excused. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? No. President Dockstetter?
No.
No. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. 9 aye, 20 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, Senate File 1007 has failed introduction on the Senate. Mr. Floor Leader.
Just for a quick explanation, same. You're going to see me vote no on most of the bills that are left. These bills will be able to be amended into existing bills. And I will continue to vote no. It doesn't mean I'm opposed to the process or the thought, but if they will fit in a bill, I will vote no. And there's numbers of these bills. I said it earlier, clearly fit in. My vote doesn't mean that I'm opposed to the concept. It means that I'm trying to narrow the list to 2 bills or 3 bills that we have time to work. Thank you.
President, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, just for clarification on introduction, the sponsor has 2 minutes for an explanation. Is that correct?
I don't see anything in my notes regarding that, so, okay, we'll go with 2 minutes then. Senator Bouchard, you got a bonus? And with that, Senator Bouchard, you have another.
Thank you, Mr.
Introduction.
President. Well, this is a bill that, and I guess I should motion to, I want to move Senate File 10,012, and I want to explain the bill. This is a bill that gives healthcare professionals a right to prescribe medication. So I don't think this bill will fit anywhere else. And I'll keep it really simple. It handles both pharmacists and prescribers. So on page 2 of the bill, unless specifically prescribed by law, the board shall not take action to suspend, revoke, refuse, or renew. And this has been a big part of the contention with doctors treating early. There has been both out of the pharmaceutical and the doctors and on the boards, and especially in the beginning of COVID. We need to let doctors be doctors, pharmacies be pharmacists. It also does the same thing to the doctor's side on page 3 of the bill. Unless specifically prescribed by law, the board shall take no action to suspend, revoke, refuse, or to renew, or to take action against renewal. And basically it boils down to the prescriber reasonably believes that it's likely to be effective in treating COVID. So it's really simple. Let the doctor be a doctor. That's all this bill does. It doesn't do any other magic. So I certainly would ask for the body to support this bill. Mr. President, Senate File 10,012, having been numbered, signed by the sponsor and submitted to the chief clerk, but having not been taken from the desk and placed on the order of business of introduction, reading, reference of bills as provided in Senate Rule 4-6, I move pursuant to Senate Rule 8-6 that Senate File 10,012 be taken from the desk and placed on the order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills.
Mr.
Vice
Chairman,
President, go ahead.
Mr. President, the bill number is 1012, not 10,012.
All right, thank you. Senator Bouchard.
He's just going to redo the motion.
Just
Mr.
restate it.
President, Senate File 1012, having been numbered, signed by the sponsor and submitted to the chief clerk, but having business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills as provided in Senate Rule 4-6, I move pursuant to Senate Rule 8-6 that Senate File 1012 be taken from the desk and placed on that order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills.
Thank you for that clarification. Senator Kinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. For my 2 minutes on and against the motion, and I respect the views of the bringer of the motion and the bill, but as I understand it, this is already the law. 13 years in healthcare, we ran infusion centers. It was common to see doctors prescribe medication for what's called off-label use. So medication might be approved, say, for one particular treatment, but the medical community reasonably believes it may be effective in another treatment. And so they're free to prescribe it as an off-label use. And I see my friend, the physician's assistant, nodding his head yes. And when I've talked to medical doctors about some of these alternative treatments available for the COVID virus, what I've heard is not that they're intimidated by the state board, they just aren't convinced that they're efficacious and that they will use other treatments. If a doctor is convinced that it's reasonably available, they are free to prescribe it as an off-label use. So I'm not sure that this is really addressing the root cause of the problem. Thank you.
Let's, just a reminder, debate's not in order. I was distracted with several notes up here at one time. So with that, do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Minority Floor Leader?
That was the question, is whether this is a debatable motion. My understanding was that it was a debatable motion.
Correct.
If that's the case, there would be an opportunity for 5-minute speeches, no more than 2 per person, pursuant to standard rules of the 66th legislature. But I'm not certain of that. Although it's simply a re-referral effectively, which is standard business, or a call for referral, I should say, which is standard business. So I was under the impression it was under the standard rules of debate, which would not limit the good senator to 2 minutes, but provide for an opportunity. So I guess I'll just ask to look into that for a moment. Maybe we need either a ruling of the chair,
Well,
or
I think
I see the chief clerk
she
wandered off,
will-
so I
yeah.
think she's gonna check.
Chief Clerk will help you out with that, Senator. So with that, I think we're going to go to a vote on this unless the body is not comfortable. Okay, we're going to proceed. Senator, one more quick time. Yeah, whoops, hit the wrong button. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. President. I only feel like I must stand since I got a little opposition here. In the beginning of COVID, it was actually a threat of licensure, and that was very clear and evident across the state. So whether we could debate the issue that maybe or maybe not, but this fixes the problem and makes sure that we don't run into this again. We have too many doctors that feel that there's a threat to their license. And if this makes it good for them so they can treat patients, then we solve problems by doing this. So I would urge the body to vote yes on this.
All right, ready for the question? This is on Senate File 1012. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Anderson? No. Baldwin? No. Whitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard?
Aye.
Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? No. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Murphy? No. Baru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. James? Aye. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? No. Landon? No. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Pappas excused. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? No. President Dockstader? No. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. 11 aye, 18 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, Senate File 1012 has failed introduction into the Senate. Further consideration, Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate File 1019, Wyoming Gaming Commission Scrivener Error Correction, having been numbered, signed by the sponsor, and submitted to the chief clerk, but having not been taken from the desk and placed on the order of business in introduction, reading, and reference of bills, as provided in Senate Rule 4-6, I move pursuant to Senate Rule 8-6 that Senate File 1019 be taken from the desk and placed on that order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills. Colleagues, to briefly get you up to speed, you'll recall that prior to 2020, skill-based amusement games or skill games were operating in Wyoming without regulation. In 2020, Wyoming passed House Bill 171 to provide a regulatory framework to authorize these games for a one-year period. House Bill 171 converted the Wyoming Parimutuel Commission into the Gaming Commission and required skill game vendors and operators to obtain a license. House Bill 171 added 2 members to the Gaming Commission, a law enforcement rep, and a tribal member representative. House Bill 171 also allowed the Gaming Commission to hire law enforcement to act as peace officers and enforce all relevant laws. House Bill 171 was passed as a session law and was not codified in the Green Books, as it was intended to be a one-year look at whether Wyoming was going to continue to regulate skill games. In 2021, however, skill game operators asked for legislation to make permanent the presence of skill games. Thus, the legislature crafted Senate File 56 to codify the regulatory framework, and in doing so, repealed House Bill 171. Unfortunately, the bill should have only repealed Section 1 of House Bill 171. Instead, the repealer in Senate File 56 repealed the entire bill. This was a drafting error of which we only became recently aware. As a result, the mistake has resulted in the Gaming Commission going back and now referring itself to its former name, the Parimutuel Commission. The 2 additional members that were added to the commission with the passage of House Bill 171 were no longer afforded voting rights. But more significantly, the law enforcement hired by the commission may experience problems with their benefits because of continuum of service requirements, and their authority to enforce laws as Wyoming peace officers has been called into question. Thus, passage of this bill is urgent and important. So there are 3 reasons to support this bill. First, it is urgent to correct an error that impacts law enforcement in our state. Second, the bill is not controversial. And third, the sole purpose of the bill is to correct a drafting error, and it shouldn't require any amendments and shouldn't take up a significant amount of time of this body. So for those reasons, I would urge your aye vote on this bill.
Chief Clerk did show me a rule, as good minority floor leader pointed out, there can be, with majority approval, there can be some debate. With that, any further discussion? Mr. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to talk on this, and it's interesting. This bill really does not fit, shouldn't be here, but I can tell you there's been talk of a special session around this bill because it was not, it's really isn't anything to be debated on. This was a mistake that happened, and it's got some fairly dire consequences that are going on right now around the state. It undid a huge part of what we did with the Gaming Commission. And there's a time sensitive part to it, back to a special session, that they're gonna be in a spot to approve lots and lots of skill games coming up if we don't plug the hole back to what the body intended. That's really what happened. I'm loath to ask for you to vote yes for it, but it truly was talked about in multiple bodies and offices, whether we actually called a special session over this single item, because they can't hire law enforcement correctly now. They have board members that don't work correctly. It really is a fairly big issue, and I would ask you to vote yes on it. It's a bill that will ask that there's no debate on. It's purely a fix. It's not a bill to be amended to change things, but it's a fix of a big problem. Vote however you want on it, but it really does have a time sensitive issue to it that's happening right now as we speak. It's been going on all summer.
Senate File 1019. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Anderson? No. Baldwin? Aye. Whitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Ellis? Aye. Aye. French? No. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. James? No. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Conflict? Pappas excused. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader?
No.
No. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. 16 aye, 12 no, 1 excused, 1 conflict.
By your vote, Senate File 1019 passed introduction into the Senate. Further bills for consideration and introduction. Further bills. Senator Beitman,
Just a privilege of the floor, please. Mr.
please do.
Mr. President, I wasn't aware that I could, my previous motion, that I could explain the bill. So I apologize to the members for not explaining what the bill did. I thought it was just a straight up or down vote, and I didn't realize we could have debate on it. So I apologize to Ms. Smith, and I apologize to my House sponsor down the hall that I didn't do a good enough job of adequately representing the bill. Not that I think it'll do much to change the outcome with the 11 ayes, 18 noes, so I won't go through the bill. I encourage you, it's been out there for everybody to read. I encourage you all to read it. This issue is not going to go away. I plan on bringing it again in February, and this cannot be allowed to continue as far as the forced masking in the schools. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I learned about that point along the way too. Senator Kinsky.
Just a brief point of order, we need to bear in mind, since we're under regular rules now, some of these bills may be introduced in the House, pass and cross over, so we might yet see it, depending on what your co-sponsor does on the House side.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Further bills for consideration? Oh, Senator James.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate File 1020 having been numbered, signed by the sponsor and submitted to the chief clerk, but having not been taken from the desk and placed on the order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills as provided in Senate Rule 4-6, I move pursuant to Senate Rule 8-6 that Senate File 1020 be taken from the desk and placed on that order of business of introduction, reading, and reference of bills. So 1020 doesn't cross over in the private sector at all. it stays away and attacks the actual problem, which is the overreach of the federal government. I have verified with my county sheriff and county attorney that this is completely enforceable. And they'll have the ability to place either a fine or implement imprisonment on either a public servant or federal employee if they were to violate any part of this bill. So in addition to criminal penalties, public servants who violate the people's constitutional rights in this bill will also be terminated from their position. Their employment will no longer be available to them in any part of the state. They'll also lose all their benefits. This is already within statute. There'll be a fine placed against them. This will also happen against the federal employees as well. This is already in statute. This is where I got this inspiration. And the fines will be taken from, they'll be reciprocal. So whatever the fine is, whether it be them withholding federal money, then that's the fine that we placed on that federal employee or the public servant. If they're withholding Medicaid money, if it's applying to like the hospital long-term care, that'll be the same fine placed upon that federal or public servant. And that's pretty much the bill. It's applying directly to the problem, the feds, and it's not crossing over to the private sector because they're not the issue. It's the federal government.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? Ready for the vote? Chief Clerk, call roll on 1020, Senate File 1020.
Anderson? No. Baldwin? No. Whitman? Aye. Boner? No. Bouchard? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? No. Driscoll? No. Ellis? No. French? Aye. Murphy? No. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. James? Aye. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? No. Landon? No. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Pappas excused. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? No. President Dockstader?
No.
No. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. 6 aye, 23 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, Senate File 1020 has failed introduction into the Senate. Any further bills for consideration, members of the Senate? Any further bills for consideration? Pause for just a moment and have the Majority Floor Leader approach the desk.
Let me get on the case. You're right. Senate rules. Bristol's.
All right, thank you for your patience. We have some, folks, we have some meetings that have been previously noticed. So we're going to funnel these bills, change some assignments here, have some objection to move into these noticed meetings. And I'll note the assignments here. And it's also, we can do this in accordance with the new rule today, 13.6, which allows us to accommodate any appropriations within the bill. So with that having been said, Senate File 4 be assigned to Corporations Committee number 7. Senate File 3 will be assigned to Committee number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 9 will be assigned to Committee number 10, Labor Health. Senate File 19, just passed on introduction, will be assigned to Corporations, Committee number 7. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's have a public notice with the chairs of these committees, with corporations, appropriations, and labor health. You who now have these assignments, and to maintain pace with the House, we're going to ask our chairs, Chairman Driscoll, Chairman Perkins, Chairman Baldwin, how you would, what your plans are then for that meeting. We have. Yes, it's getting back to that. But this is a day of many, many notes being put in front of me, so. So like. Okay, let's proceed then with announcements from appropriations, corporations, and Chairman Baldwin, you give us a reminder for your one later today, but while we have you standing, Chairman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick point of order. Since it's time for announcements, do we need to move to recess or to beg leave to sit and rise and sit again? Or is there a motion that we need to take before we make the announcements?
Mr. Rothfuss, Senator Rothfuss.
Mr. President, I would ask if you want to shut down right now. There's nothing that says you can't make an announcement while we're in session as the Senate. If there's a desire to do more business, it is in order to do those announcements, continue business, and then beg leave or take leave or do whatever the good majority leader wants to do later. I don't know what the plan is, but it's in order to make an announcement now. It's just not how we typically do it.
And that's just, I'm asking for direction. If,
I was
are
gonna-
we?
Mr.
gonna
Chairman, I
meet-
was going to shut it down, so, but we,
Okay.
Mr. Senator Scott?
Mr. President, and this is moving so fast, I may be totally missing something. But we're back under the, as I understand it, under the original session rules, and they require a notice the day before a meeting. And I think some of them, the notice was posted, some of them it was not. So do we need to suspend the rules on any of these meetings? I suspect we do.
Chairman Scott, we don't have to suspend the rules. The meeting notice went out last night.
Mr. President,
We don't have to suspend the rules. The meeting notice went out last night.
Mr. President,
With the caveat, if introduced. So I'm told that we're all right.
Mr. President, the bill to get rid of the Scrivener's error, is that on? There's notice yesterday, okay.
Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move Senate adjourn until 8:30 a.m. Wednesday, October 27th.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
No.
Announcements. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, your committee number 2 appropriations will meet at 3 o'clock to take up Senate File 1003, which is COVID-19 discriminatory practices prohibition. And then also Senate File 1009, which is COVID-19 response.
Thank you. For further announcements. Oh, wait.
Did I say that? What's that? I thought,
Yours is 1003, sir.
I thought I had 2. No, just one? It changed. I'm sorry. I
So
couldn't
we can
the
keep up
pace.
with the notices.
So only apparently Senate File 1003, which is COVID-19 discriminatory practices prohibition.
Thank you. Senator Driscoll?
Mr. President, your lucky committee number 7, corporations, will meet at 2:30. I'm going to have to ask you or the clerk for which room we're meeting in to take up Senate File 119, Wyoming Gaming Commission Scrivener Error Correction, and Senate File 1004, COVID-19 vaccinations, employer prohibitions 2.
Mr. Chairman, that is meeting room 6.
Meeting room 6, W6 downstairs. Thank you.
Right. Chairman Baldwin.
Mr. President, your perfectly confused Labor Committee 10 is going to meet at 4 p.m. in room extension W4 to consider Senate File 1009, COVID-19 Response 2.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Senator Perkins?
Mr. Chairman, I originally thought we might meet in the joint appropriations room, but my guess is that's going to be occupied. So our room number, what room we should move in?
Let's see what we got open here for you. Yeah, room 110.
Okay,
Senator.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Room
So
110 for
the Joint
appropriations.
Appropriations Committee will be meeting at 3 o'clock in room 110 to undertake the bill as described.
Thank you. Any further announcements? There being none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Senate will stand adjourned until 8:30 tomorrow morning.